Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Mariner Mondays, a Seattle Mariners weekly show from your friends over at Circling Seattle Sports. If you are angry at our thoughts on bringing in Alex Bregman, who would certainly upgrade this team, maybe we're not your friends. Um, Charles Hamaker here with you, Jake Parr, and of course Brittany Wisner. We have Brittany back this week. It's awesome. We're up at three people now, so three people suffering through the Mariners offseason. What else is new? We have actual signings to talk about, guys, and acquisitions. I didn't say how big they were. I didn't say how much red they have on their baseball savant pages. It's looking more blue out there, like the top that I'm wearing, Bavarian Meats, by the way. Um, is
Are we sponsored by Bavarian Meats?
no, but we're trying to.
Okay.
Somewhat of an inside joke around the media areas in the Seattle area. I am known as Meat Jesus because I pass out Bavarian meats and different meat assorted snacks. Um,
I think Jesus did do that, something with fish on a mountain.
well, so I've kind of they apparently they've taken notice, and I have this now. So we're there. Yeah, it's not a soup. I'm not. No one's super happy about the week they had. It was somewhat eventful, and I'm going to start us off on a negative note, which is wonderful. On the Mariners missing entirely out on Roki Sasaki, like I'm. It's not surprising. I am sure both of you will agree with that. But to not have a meeting whatsoever, to know that apparently Sasaki was his first round of meetings was, I think the report was that he was focusing on places that, touted, how they worked with their pitchers and the technicalness of their working with pitchers in Seattle, to not even get an interview even with that knowledge in hand. Um it's And the Dodgers are a whole different thing. I don't want to sit here and talk about the Dodgers, especially with the news. Obviously, there's the news about, we talked about Keem. There's the Sasaki news. They got Tanner Scott. I feel like there's someone else I'm missing over the last few days. But yeah, it's not great. And I don't want to talk about that because that's a whole other can of worms. But um, Jake, and then we'll go to Brittany, and then we'll rotate. We'll switch that rotation throughout the show here. Um, just how big of an indictment? Yeah, just the indictment that this is on the Mariners, that they didn't even get a meeting. There was no mention of them. They were, essentially ignored by the pretty girl at school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which isn't
Relatable.
new this offseason. Oh, okay. This offseason. Just your thoughts on that, because again, I feel like we all saw this coming, but to
Yeah.
not get any mention, to not get even a little a side eye is it's just funny at this point.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, the Mariners have such a reputation for their pitching lab. I mean, it's magic. It's black magic. I'm assuming someone's soul is going to have to suffer in the pits of Tartarus for eternity for what they're able to do in there. Um, And going into the offseason, like the front office was talking about how we've been preparing for years for this meeting. We have a great package set up. Apparently, Ichiro was part of that. But to not even get a meeting. And I think fundamentally that comes down to the lack of history of winning in the playoffs and the lack of history in the playoffs. Like they've made it, what, 4 or 5 times total? Um, like you're gonna want to go to the team that wins ball games and that is going to get you a ring when you retire. Like you're gonna have at least one Sasaki, probably. And you want to be teammates with Shohei Ohtani, and you want to have like the 1, 2, 3 Japanese pitching rotation that's going to destroy the National League, right? Um, Charles shocked by this information. It's brutal. Um, but I think the team only has itself to blame because of like that history of failure. Or maybe not failure, but lack of success, right? I mean, there's so much narrative about the Mariners wasting so many prime players, like Griffey, like Ichiro, like Edgar. And I don't think anybody else wants to be the next Japanese superstar that spends 15 years in Seattle and never makes the playoffs.
Brittany, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to convince someone to come here when you have proven no investment to the team. Uh, it's pretty simple. I'm not surprised or shocked at all. I feel like a broken record is the issue of putting all your eggs in one basket that this front office does, and they come out and say, we've put together this pitch and we've been working on it for years for Roki Sasaki, and not even to get a meeting. They never have a pivot plan for these instances. And they should. They should know better at this point. They should know that they do not have a track record to attract these players. So you can't keep putting all your eggs in a basket like this and then not having a pivot plan for when it doesn't work out. You should be expecting it to not work out at this point. So yeah, it's too bad that they've put themselves in this position because he would have been a fantastic addition. It would have been a win for both parties. I think he would have really thrived in the Mariners system with their pitching lab, but you can't compete with what the Dodgers are doing. Uh,
No. And as much as people won't want to hear that aspect of it, it is like, again, my main issue and why the topic was how much of it just not getting at all acknowledged is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we someone said that the Toronto Blue Jays are that chair in the corner of the hotel room. And I mean, to an extent, that would be painful in its own right. Like the Blue Jays are in a better position than I think I saw a Blue Jays fan said Toronto hasn't suffered more. I was like, you cut up because you came into the league and actually like went to a World Series. Like they've seen
Won
success.
twice, I believe, right?
Yeah. So like shut up. Go Canada, shut up. Um like I mean it is painful. The plane reports last year, and to be in the final three, but just for Seattle, like Brittany said, like, obviously Jake had mentioned as well, just all this talk. And I thought it was a little worrisome when I saw that when they said we're planning this big pitch. I'm like, you are gonna fall on your face. Part of what I was thinking about when Jake was talking, besides, wow, what a nice beard. Um, like someone mentioned it online. How much does how Yusei Kikuchi's time here in Seattle ended affect maybe how some international players view coming here? Which I don't know, maybe that's part of it. Um, I don't think it's the biggest issue, with
but it
trying
all
to
adds
attract.
up. All those little things, whether it's that, whether it's who wants to be the next Felix Hernandez, probably not
Yeah,
Roki Sasaki. I mean, all
Mm-hmm.
those little things add up.
yeah. And the other thing too, which will always be one of the bigger dominoes, is whatever you did in your meeting with Shohei. Obviously, it wasn't enough years ago. Because I mean, what if he did become a Mariner in the first place, or somehow you got him to come here on the second time around? Like, does it, obviously you get more funds. Uh, oh God, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the NFL what ifs. There was some guy who used to do these what ifs on YouTube, and he'd have this like fun animation style and how the league could totally change. Like if the Mariners signed Shohei Ohtani first or second time around, they get more funds, they get more advertising, they can spend on a Yamamoto. Like I'm living in fantasy land. I'm sorry,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
you get what
if
I'm
my
saying,
grandmother
though.
had wheels, she'd be a bike. You know what I mean?
God, you're terrible. You get what I'm saying, though. Well, so, you know, yeah, more frustration. But what's new? Um, let's-
Day of the Dead
we'll
and
get
why.
we'll get over here to the biggest acquisition of the offseason and Donovan Solano. Um, I texted Brittany just wow, and she was like, "I'm out of the loop. What's going on?" I was like, "Donovan Solano." Um,
You
did
texted me
not
and just said 37 exclamation point
Yes,
question
that was the
mark.
next part. I was like,
Yeah.
he's 37. I did not read. I mean, he doesn't look 37 per se. I mean, I don't know. He looks good, and I don't know what it is, but anyway, yeah, Donovan Solano is interesting. I mean, when people are calling you Donnie Barrels, it's not a bad thing. Um, I mean, the guy can hit. He's been an average to above average hitter. Like, obviously, that is a positive in any Seattle sense. Um, he's interesting. I'm interested in, and I'd like to hear from you guys on it because folks are like, well, he'll help you at first base. You know, he's listed on Baseball Savant as a third baseman. Like, he can play around the infield. And I'd love to hear where you guys think he might stick best. Obviously, you know, if they actually make upgrades, which we'll talk about at the end of the show, then that changes things. And, you know, Jerry Dipoto loves a versatile infielder or a versatile player who we'll let's talk about in Miles Mastrobuoni later. Um, but yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Brittany, we'll go to you, and then Jake, you can pick up right after. Um, on Solano here. And where does he fit? If you had to look into whatever crystal ball or however you want to predict, you know, I'm not in your business. Where he plays the most games for Seattle in 2025.
Yeah, I had a moment last night just looking at his Fangraphs page of if they miss out on Justin Turner, he's going to end up playing first, isn't he? Kind of had this sinking feeling of, oh, that's maybe they're preparing for missing out on Justin Turner. That can't be your biggest acquisition of the offseason. It just can't be. Very possible it is. The way things are going, they're going to have to get brave if they want to make some upgrades. And right now, it's just not looking like the case. So, I mean, he's a good piece to have. He's a great bench piece. Like if they acquired him as their first guy off the bench or like a Sam Haggerty type filling in for injuries where needed, I think that's a great piece. It's a great acquisition. Right now, in the manner that they are set up, he could be your starting third baseman, your starting second baseman, or platoon partner with Luke Rayleigh, and that is an issue. So off season's not over yet. We've said that several times. Knock on wood. Keeping my fingers crossed that something happens that makes this acquisition look a little bit better on paper.
Yeah. I mean, Charles asked where do you hope he ends up? I hope he like settles in on the bench. And I hope we don't see
Yeah.
him on any of the starting lineup graphics, but I know we will. And I'm not enthused. I mean, we were talking last week about wanting them to get Bregman and resigning Turner, and we got Donovan Solano. And it feels like the Dodgers are playing out of the park baseball and have set like the opposing managers' difficulties to like easy, right? So they're always signing like terrible players. Like this feels like, season 5 of an out of the park baseball
Oh,
save
yeah.
where like, oh, I guess Donovan Solano's a Mariner now. Okay, cool. Um, and it's just, oh, it doesn't feel great. You know who doesn't call him Donnie Barrels? Baseball Savant doesn't call him Donnie Barrels.
Oh, well,
He's got a 3.7 barrel percent.
oof.
That's yeehaw. That's a bad number.
Terrible batters, Donovan Solano, though, 2021 Ty France.
Oh
Mm.
my God.
Oh
Any
man.
opportunity to mention 2021 Ty France, I take it.
Gone but not forgotten.
Never.
Jesus. Yeah, no, it is what a
Yeah,
life we live. What a life we live.
about right.
Yeah, just with Solano. Yeah, I have a feeling as the one who does type out the starting lineup graphics that I'm gonna be typing Donovan Solano in a bunch of different spots. And
Donovan
I don't
Solano,
know.
left field.
Oh Jesus. Well, like fuck. Oops, didn't say it. Josh Rojas playing left field at some point last year. Like when he did have his insanity run, and they said, "We need your bat in the lineup. Go play left field." Um,
You know the "Aw, you're sweet, hello human resources" meme?
yes,
It's Josh Rojas left field. "Aw, you're sweet, Donovan Solano left
left
field."
field, human res. Well, and then when you brought back up Alex Bregman, who again is a certified upgrade, and if you can't get over the fact that he was in Houston, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're made out for pro sports. There are much worse things than that going on a day-to-day basis. It's this meme of the child. Little man wanted McDonald's, but ain't have McDonald's money. Little man wanted Alex Bregman, but didn't have Alex Bregman money. Donovan Solano, it is champ. So
Oh man.
that's where we're at, and we all know it. It's just having it shoved into your face again and again just reminds you and is very painful. So
Yeah.
we'll get over to something else very exciting and very thrilling in terms of addition. Miles Mastrobuoni, straight up for cash. Wow, bargain. Yeah, I mean, this is another guy where I mean, he has to be bench depth. Like there can't
Hmm.
be any other situation where he's nothing else. Um, I mean, we were talking about this before the show started, but I'm just looking at his last 3 years here, and I see one homer. Jake mentioned he had a wonderful 19 hits. He's God-given 19 hits. I was like, I don't know if God's on your side at that point. Over 106 plate appearances. You know, he does have 69% percentile sprint speed though, which is nice. And he's squared up percentages at 36.4. Ooh,
Yeah.
hey. Um,
It is surprising how much red is on baseball advantage.
yeah,
Not saying that equates to anything, but it was surprising to pull that up and see that.
I mean, 100 percentile and funny name.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking over here too at his fielding, and I see 44th percentile arm strength, which getting flashbacks to Luis Urias, who probably is lower than that, but and then his range is just a zero, which is wonderful. I'm sure he just didn't calculate enough. But Jake Mastrobuoni, um, thoughts? And then Brittany, I mean, whatever you've got on Miles here, I'd love to hear that. But again, this is another guy I think that's just a bench piece, and what you're filling out because Sam Haggerty's not back, so you're just kind of filling out guys who, you may bring in here and there and will probably play somehow meaningful minutes if an injury happens at some point, right?
Please, please, oh man. It's like, yeah, he's kind of fast, I guess. That could be something. Does not work, but could be fun to fix, you know? Um, but I don't see him being incredibly successful trying to hit a baseball in T-Mobile Park, which is already, an incredibly daunting task. Um, I don't see it. He doesn't strike out that much. Um, he's only a 16% K rate. That's better than a lot of the Mariners. So maybe watching Masterboni at bats will be tolerable. Uh, but I'm not certain about that. He's squared up, really high squared up rate. You know, I'm just gonna keep saying that to myself over and over again. Does that mean anything results wise? Signs point to no. So, yeehaw.
Yeah, if this was a pitcher, I'd say maybe they could fix him.
Hmm.
What the equivalent would be, but uh, the Mariners have no history of being able to not only evaluate hitters, but um, develop them, improve them. So, yeah, I at this point we've mentioned Sam Haggerty twice now. He's been on my mind lately since
Oh,
Mastrobuoni has joined the team. I don't know if a hobbled Sam Haggerty would be faster than Miles Mastrobuoni. He'd probably make more contact. 469 OPS last year. Mastrobuoni had his best year was a 609 OPS. So I don't know. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat, but maybe he's kind of fast.
I mean, the fast can come into play if you can put the ball in play, I guess. But that, like you said, doesn't seem like that's too likely. So
He's
we'll
got
move
a
on
butt.
from these lovely additions to talk about two more intriguing ones. I mean, just because you don't have a high expectation for him coming in, and I've kind of combined them here just to kind of, I mean, because I don't know how much time you'd really spend on Blake Hunt normally. I wouldn't spend too much normally. Watch, he'll have a crazy run, and I'll doubt that. But how much impact does a Blake Hunt have on the season? Because what does the catching depth behind Cal Raleigh look like? Is it continuing to run Mitch Garver out there and hoping he doesn't explode? Are you hoping that Harry Ford, really does well in AAA? Like, so I imagine Blake Hunt plays at least a handful of games or at least on the roster for a few games the major league level, and then the same thing to Shintaro Fujinami. Um, did I butcher that? Did I get that right? Oh, I got that right. Nice. It's fascinating. He seems like the prime candidate. See, we talk about a hitter and it's all the darkness and it's the two roads. We talk about a pitcher and like they can fix him. Um, because Fujinami like seems like such a prime candidate for the pitching lab. I think anybody on Mariners Twitter or baseball Twitter kind of knows that. Um, he made the mistake early on of signing in Oakland, which, tough, but Oakland does have some talent right now. It's a shame everything else going on around them. I think he was on the Mets roster last year and he didn't do anything. Um, so maybe he starts out at AAA this year. Um, yeah, how much impact does Blake Hunt have on this Mariners organization? And then the same thing to Shintaro, obviously different pitcher, different positions, but still two guys who could be fun. Um, who did we start with last time? We'll go with Brittany first because Brittany's been here longer. Sorry, Jake. And then we'll go to Jake after that.
Blake Hunt, going to be very purposeful in how I pronounce his name, could play a few games, a cup of coffee at the big league level if he's not traded for a mid to bad reliever like last year. I was oddly Blake Hunt fan club for the 2 months he was in AAA last year. So I like his pitching nerd. So I like the way he moves behind the plate. I like the way he commands a ball game, and I think there is potential there to nurture. I would be much more comfortable with him filling in if Cal gets hurt, knock on wood, and Garver is hurt as well, than Sevi Zavala. I would have been more comfortable last year with Blake Hunt filling in for that role instead of Sevi Zavala. Although Cal Raleigh might not have a platinum glove in that case. So I'm glad he's back. I'm glad to see him back in the organization. We'll see if they use him as a trade piece again. I hope that's not the only reason they're bringing him back, because that catching depth is sad and scary and something I feel like I am going to scream into the void about for a long time. Fujinami's interesting. That's exciting to me because there's so much potential there, and we know what the lab can do. So that one, I probably the most exciting recent signing for me. I would really look forward to seeing him in AAA. I might go see a Rainiers game or two, see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, if the question is how much impact does Blake Hunt have at the major league level, ideally it's next to zero. Um, I don't, because if Blake Hunt is playing baseball games for the Seattle Mariners, that means something has happened to Cal Raleigh. Um, for some reason, Cal Raleigh is not playing a baseball game, and that's a disaster. for this team because they have like three good hitters, and Cal Raleigh is two of them. So you don't want to see Blake Hunt, right? But Fujinami, I like that. I'm looking at his pitch tracking information. His fastball crazy fast, and it also moves arm side like a ton. And his splitter, but his splitter is more interesting to me. The profile of it really reminds me of Logan Gilbert's splitter that he just kind of
Mm.
developed out of nowhere and turned into like one of his best pitches, and one of the best splitters in the game. Fujinami's splitter has very similar movement profile to it, in that it drops more than MLB average, and it moves a little bit less to the arm side, so it almost kind of goes straight down, but not quite. It still has a little bit of lateral movement to it, and his cutter drops uh, compared to like the MLB average cutter, which like rises almost a foot, perceived. Um, I fundamentally believe that like yeah, the pitching lab is going to do remarkable things to Fujinami, and I am excited to have another pitcher that is really good, especially because I mean he's a reliever, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I will say quickly, he's been pitching in a league this offseason, and he's been starting apparently,
okay,
which is a fascinating development
okay,
because I
yeah,
imagine you want him in the bullpen, right? I don't think
hmm
Seattle's bringing him in to be a starter as a reclamation project in that regard,
yeah,
right?
especially
So
because like it was kind of the bullpen that melted down like late last year. Um, I think Fujinami is going to be, a little bit more dependable. I'm excited to see Pete Woodworth get his hands on him. And I know Pete Woodworth is excited to get his hands on him. I believe in Fujinami. I do not believe in Blake Hunt. Yeah, emphasize that space.
Good pronunciation.
sorry, I went to talk about Blake Hunt. I went and looked at his transaction list, and I totally forgot they acquired him for another catcher in a straight up catcher for catcher deal and Tatum Levens. Um, and Brittany was like, "You hopefully don't trade him for a mid to bad reliever." And I was like, "Who are you talking about again?" I forgot it. Mike Bauman. I forgot about Big Mike.
Big Mike
Big
Bauman.
Mike.
Mike Bauman, that's right.
And
Oh
was
man.
was
Mike
it
Bauman had a blow up. I just thought Blake Hunt died for this.
Yeah. I love Big Mike Bauman because they really just faced him once in a single game in Camden Yards. And we're like, we want him.
like
bring,
this guy?
bring me that white boy.
Because
But
what was it?
Miller
Yeah,
got his knuckle curve, so that's
hmm
a
yes,
plus,
that
right?
was that's what Blake Hunt died for, they said. Well, then it's
Rest in
funny
peace.
when you look at this is somewhat off the rails, but I don't care. What was it? Austin Shenton, you trade Austin Shenton part of what, the Diego Castillo deal. Diego Castillo does some stuff, explodes, and now he's back. Um, oh God, it'll never be weird. I remember we did have photographers go out to the Rainiers games and seeing Castillo pitch in a Rainiers jersey. I'm like, wow. Um, but
Dominican
yeah,
Big
Blake
Boss.
Blake Hunt, oh, Dominican Big Boss highlights.
Mhm.
What a shame. Yeah, you get Blake Hunt in a catcher for catcher deal. I wonder what Tatum Levens is doing nowadays. You get Big
Accounting?
Mike, well, maybe somewhere in wherever the hell Tampa Bay's system is. What, Norfolk? I don't know. No, what, Durham? Yeah, Durham. Um,
Durham.
he, Big Mike gives him this curveball, says, "Take this, my son. I won't need it anymore." Oh, and then he became an angel. That's right. Wow.
Fate worse than death, frankly.
Yeah, God.
Giant.
A giant, like he was doing the tour. Is he anywhere now? Sorry, I'm off the rails again.
No, I don't think
Um,
so.
Yeah, yeah. Deep research
um,
into Big Mike.
Big Mike, where are you, man? Oh my God,
Korea?
you won't. Michael Thomas Bauman is an American professional baseball pitcher for the Tokyo Yakult Swallows of the Nippon Professional Baseball League.
Oh man,
Oh,
good for him.
Swallows! I'm sorry. This is so funny and delirious just to see what happens here.
Get ready to learn Japanese, buddy.
That was me if TikTok had really been banned. What? Um, oh God, I always worry when I get notifications on this that something's happening. One day on the show we will get the big news drop. Who knows what it'll be?
Breaking
Um,
news live on Mariner
it'll be
Mondays.
that they're putting a Starbucks in T-Mobile Park.
It's gonna happen.
That's the what was it? Jake over at Raise the different Jake, sorry, from Raise the Trident posted that fake thing about them putting in a Beecher's mac and cheese, and people thought it was shipment. And what was it in the thing? It was that this is Seattle's biggest edition. I was like, yeah, we've gotten to full. I'll use it for this one. We've gotten to full shit posting, and it's opportune time to use it.
If they did put in like a mac and cheese place, I wouldn't be able to behave. Um, Press box would smell
Jake,
like cheese forever, and I wouldn't
Jake,
apologize.
Jake, people already complained to me, specifically your coworker and Kate, that I use too much. Hold on, that I use too much Tabasco on my fish and chips
I
in that press box.
I am a Tabasco enjoyer. I have the largest bottle of Tabasco known to be. I have Sriracha Tabasco. That's so good.
Have a bottle of Tabasco ready to go.
You don't?
No.
I don't actually either. It's in the kitchen. Is that B Dub Dub's Buffalo hot sauce just
Hold on,
ready?
hold on.
Oh boy.
Do you have a mini fridge full of hot sauce? What's going on here?
No, you know, folks who have watched the episodes will notice the different background now. I've moved things around for optimal office. So yes,
Optimum hot sauce reaching.
there was a Japanese media writer who would come obviously when there's a player she would want to cover. And because I would have my own hot sauce, she would refer to me as Hot Sauce Man. Anytime I walk by her in the press, Hot Sauce Man, I'm like, yep, that's me.
There's worse things to
Um,
be.
she did interview me about before the off season where Shohei signed in LA, real LA, not Anaheim, of course. Um, and so I just wonder if I'm credited as Hot Sauce Man. I'll never know. Um, we'll wrap up this wild show with something maybe that will cause more delirium. Um, does Seattle make a meaningful addition to their infield by spring training, or will it all be bottom of the barrel, bottom of the discount toy barrel uh toys this offseason? Jake, we'll head to you, and then Brittany, why don't you wrap us up on this wonderful uh midish, late-ish January show. Jake, what do you got?
So the big question here is like one of incentives. Like I'm sure uh, Dipoto and Hollander are trying to make a big move. Like I'm sure they want the team to be good, but at a fundamental level, right, there is very little incentive for ownership to allow that budget for the big move for your Pete Alonsos and your Alex's Bregmans. Because if Seattle is permanently an 88-90 win team that is always right there, almost on the cusp of being in the playoffs or being a contender, fundamentally, that's like the most profitable place for this team to be right now because that's going to keep fans coming to games. It's going to keep fans watching, buying merch, and things like that. But you don't have to open up your checkbook enough to like actually like go over that hurdle and go into the playoffs, and you make more money, but probably less profit because you're paying more. Like where the team is right now, kind of like 6.5, 7 out of 10 kind of team. That's really the best place to be because that's going to have us all locked in to our TVs and into T-Mobile Park come September. Um, and so I don't know. I'm going to say it's 50-50 right now because like I'm sure the front office is trying, but I don't think the budget's there. So like I'm very happy to be proven wrong. Please prove me wrong. Um, but I'm not optimistic. I'm unfortunately, uh, yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm talking myself out of it. Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. Um, I think we're at about. I'm talking myself down now. I think it's 40% likely that they're gonna make a big signing. Yeah, Sorry to harsh the vibes.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I
Uh,
can pay for Alex Bregman with this.
There you go. I have a Center for Wooden Boats membership you can have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brittany, I
to
will
add on to
continue
that,
my nonsense, but yeah, it's you.
I completely agree with what you said. And to add on, there's a couple of reasons why they did what they did with Julio, right? It was not just the talent; they saw the revenue potential with him, and they're going to maximize that, and that is going to continue to be, well, we have Julio, so people are going to come out to the ballpark, even if it is an 84 win team. Which right now I think they're an 84 win team. I wouldn't even put them at 89 wins. I do not think that Steel Labs is not coming to Seattle. The budget's not coming there. No Barnes and Noble gift card is going to get Pete Alonso.
Oh man. Oh, that's like a
What a
cryptid. I don't like
throwback.
seeing that.
My goodness. That's
Charlotte with hair is that's bad.
that's what I know of. I think if something happens, it's going to be through trade with a team that's desperate. Maybe it's Toronto. We're hearing that Toronto's still looking for starting pitching. Maybe they get desperate enough. They are real down in the dumps. I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think I'd rather be a Mariner fan than a Toronto fan right now.
Wow.
They've been so close to so many and missed out on every single one. At least we're sitting here knowing like, nah, Roki's not coming to Seattle. At least we know. At least we're not getting teased. So maybe Toronto gets desperate enough and they've got an infielder they're willing to send our way for Luis Castillo. I think if someone comes to Seattle, it would probably be through a Castillo trade. I would see Jerry and Co. More apt to just say we're running it back. Randy was, our big acquisition. It just came at a different time, and really love our starting rotation. We're gonna ride the backs of our starting rotation, and we're really confident in the juice that Edgar is going to provide to our offense, and we're calling it. We're calling it good. That's what I foresee happening,
Mhm.
and it makes me really sad and bummed out. And then it makes me wish for a 40-40 Julio season. Um, a one dot the first 3 months would be great from Julio. And that's really what they're going to need at this point, looking at their roster. So no, I don't think anything happens. Sorry.
How did you get the script for the press conference to begin the year about believing in Julio and
I
Randy
don't know.
being the thing about to be like, oh well, people forget we got Randy Rosarena. Like that's the
That's our big
wording they did.
2025
Yeah,
acquisition
yeah,
was
that's
acquiring
it.
a Rosarina at
We
the
really
deadline
didn't
last year.
see Randyland fully. Like, when are
Yeah.
we gonna get them take the not the pen, but Edgar's Cantina and put a little Randyland sign over it? Like, um,
Writes itself. And that's kind of what's so infuriating is how long are we going to do this for?
yeah.
We're going to keep doing this cycle over and over and over. And yeah, unless Superman out of Julio and Cal and someone else has a crazy year, we're just going to
hmm
keep doing this cycle.
The window looked crazy, like wide open after 22, and it feels like it's just closed, like slamming shut. I mean, to your point though, like a Castillo trade is like a good idea, I think. Like, I think this is the last time we're gonna get to sell high on him. Like, he's
Yeah.
not the ace anymore. I think last year was not just a down year. I think it's just where he is now as a guy, as a pitcher. I think trading Castillo for a great bat, not just a good bat, but like a new, you know,
But
second in the lineup guy. I think that's the best move. I think this is the last chance you're gonna get to like convince some GM somewhere that no, he's still an ace. We swear. Um,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
and to that point, I mean, with teams getting desperate and for teams that have missed out on the guy, well, then I remember there are some pitchers still in the market, which is remarkable. I think Jack Flaherty's still kind of hanging out somewhere in space, which is kind of funny. But yeah,
Good for
I don't
him.
know. I think that is one of the better case scenarios is that a Toronto gets desperate, and they said, okay, we know well, they obviously know what Luis can do, because they've
Hmm.
seen it happen to them several times, the horrors of the horrors. And yeah, to Jake's point as well. I mean, he's not getting better from here. You've got four other guys who will more likely go up that way, and you've got another one going the other way. So, yeah, I mean, it's just so remarkable because I understand, you know, people don't like Jerry. That's fine. Like I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you on that aspect of things. You can feel that way. I've been called a white supremacist on this account because I don't talk enough trash about Jerry, which is its own issue. Um, you know, so again, I'm not gonna defend him like that. I will just say though, like he's there, that front office with him and Hollander, who gets forgotten about a lot, which is fine. I mean, Justin's a nice enough guy. Um, because you only have limited stuff to work with. Like if you need to go out again and bake a cake and I send you to the store with $3, like what are you gonna do with that? You can't do much of anything, right? Like that's just the fact of the matter. Um, and so you do have to trade from what is going to keep you in games. Um, in a Castillo, and it is kind of remarkable to think, yeah, you mentioned 22, and you've got like right now, if you take out any thought of how they don't spend money, I mean, you've got all of these really fun position players in your system in a Cole Young, in a Felnine, Colt Emerson, all this stuff. Those guys are all a
And
lot of fun.
Williamson.
You know, you look at the pitchers, yeah, like there's Ben Williams. Yeah, sorry, Ben. Ben Believers Club. I think I just had my membership revoked because I forgot him. Um, Obviously there's Laz. Like there's a lot of fun there. And then even with something that we didn't talk about because I'm not super great on the international signings, but with those signings, signing a guy whose nickname is the Beast and Batista, who was I think ranked sixth best international prospect this period. Like, and they do good in that regard as well. They do good with the international signings. They've drafted well. They develop pitching really well. Obviously, the pitching is a different discussion, but they have great pieces for what a successful franchise should look like. They, as they should have done in 22, they have never spent the money since then to take them over the top. You can't just be good enough like you were in 22 to make it and then say, that's good. Tommy LaStella, here you go. Let's do it. Like they've never taken that step. And I think unfortunately, this will be another chapter in the Dorktown Seattle Mariners, like of they were this close to being one of the better teams in baseball, and they did not want to push themselves over, uh, for whatever reasons you want to debate about in the comments. So yeah, I would love to see that change in this organization's history and arc and see them say, actually, we do want to take advantage of potentially having four Cy Young potential winners on our rotation. And they're all young. Yes, we want to go for it. But you know, Peter Morgan Alonso is not walking through the door. I don't know Alex Bregman's middle name. The Cardinals still apparently want to trade Nolan Arenado. I don't think you're getting him either. So I don't know, guys. We'll see. Regardless, it's always fun to talk ball with these two, whether it's Jake showing me whatever game he's playing in the press box before the game, or texting Brittany out of anger out of what just happened, or she texts me out of anger what just happened during the season.
No,
So
I'd never text you out of anger. That doesn't sound
yeah, okay. Um, or texting out of concern whenever Cal does something dangerous.
like that.
That
Does sound
sounds that's better. So I don't know. At the end of the day, it's still fun. Like I'm still gonna enjoy going to the game and sitting there with my little scorecard and be like, oh, another strikeout for Logan Gilbert, and they're still losing by one. Wow. I mean, it'll be fun in that regard, but we'll see how many times I bang my head on my microphone here talking about strikeouts. We'll see.
I can't believe
So
you brought up opening day DH Tommy LaStella. You dealt one D8
No.
psychic damage
Tommy,
there.
as Trevor May said, Tommy love Babe Ruth. Um, we'll cut it
Babe Ruth
there.
isn't real, you know that.
We haven't had Taylor on the show yet, so I haven't. What a
We could make
guy.
that happen, I think.
I think we could. Um, I should just send him like a Seahawks beanie or something, and oh no, like a Husky beanie or something, and
We
call it
should
good
do we should do a
bribery.
Call of Duty stream with Taylor Saucedo.
I don't play Call of Duty. You think he'd play Fortnite?
I don't either, but we can make it happen. Maybe. You guys, is that your Fortnite setup? We're off the rails. I love podcasting.
Were we ever on the rails?
So
Can you imagine what happens when we get into the season and they have this Mariner-esque run in one of these months and it's like there's actual hope? Can you imagine that? How
Very
crazy.
easily, unfortunately.
I know. It hasn't fully been beaten out of me yet, which is remarkable. So, all right, we'll close it.
Yeah.
But June's my birthday month.
Oh my god, me too.
me too.
Ah! Okay, we need to cut this. We need to put the bow on this. All right. Until we see you next week, who knows what other random infielder that they'll acquire at some point and slap a shiny new car sticker on. Or what other maybe infielder they'll add to the pile. Oh, Brittany, wait. Okay. We'll end on this. Last week on the show, you might have seen it. We pegged our random relievers to have the most success.
Oh,
I picked Austin Kitchen before he got DFA'd. He is now in Tacoma, which he could still be a part of it, right? There have been Mariner pitchers and relievers in recent years who have come from Tacoma and made an impact. I miss Paul. Who on the roster currently do you think out of the bullpen will have the biggest impact? Jake hit me with a whammy and said that we'll see Hancock Emerson out of the bullpen at some point this year. I think you mentioned, what did you mention? It was a slider?
His sinker.
Sinker, sorry.
He's gotten it up to like 97,
pitched.
or he's gotten his fastball up to 97 before, and I'd love to see his sinker if he's like I'm going three outs, and I'm just full bore on it.
Sure. So Brittany, in that vein, it could be a guy on the roster that's listed as reliever, or maybe you hit me with something wild. Who makes a biggest surprise and not Brash? You can't pick a Matt Bratt, not Troy Taylor either.
I got one for you.
Okay.
Tyler J.
Okay.
Oh,
The
okay.
Brewers DFA'd. He is going to get into the lab, and they're going to do some magic with him, and he's going to have a Paul Sewald year. Calling it now.
All right. We'll revisit this in like August, and I'll be like, okay, here's what you said. Here's Tyler J. and his giant red savant page. How do you feel now?
Or he's no longer in the organization.
He's a
one or
Marlin
the
at
other.
that point.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, folks, until we see you next time, or maybe who knows how delirious we'll be next time. For another Mariner Mondays episode. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Maybe watch something other than, well, you can't watch baseball right now unless you're. I always enjoy seeing what game Brittany is revisiting.
Dominican Winter League.
Okay, and I'm sure there's some former Mariners that at some point who have hit the organization who you'll recognize. Do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how about those M's?
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. Where are you going to watch all those away games, though?
Away games. I was thinking of coming here since, after all, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports.
I love that idea. Hope to see y'all here.